I will now call the Community Safety Committee meeting to order at 5:03 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This meeting is being held in person and electronically in accordance with the Municipal Act. There's no public meetings tonight, but there is one open delegation. And that open delegation is by Tanis McCarthy regarding a proposal to initiate an adult school crossing guard program in Barrie and to define the program, share research, discuss deterrents, and outline benefits. Ms. McCarthy has indicated early, and I want to thank her for letting me and staff know ahead of time that her open delegation may go over the allowed 5 minutes. I don't see any reason at this time to hold her to the 5 minutes because I know she's got a lot of good content to share. But would members of committee agree to allow Ms. McCarthy a maximum of 10 minutes to provide the open delegation? Yep. Seeing no opposition? Nope. Awesome. Okay, Ms. McCarthy, you have 10 minutes and we have ITs connected with you. Perfect. The floor is yours whenever you're ready to start.
Dear Mayor and Councillors, I want to thank you for the opportunity to share with you this evening. My name is Tanis McCarthy. I'm a Barrie resident and I am a mother who is concerned for the safety of my children. I initiated a petition to get adult school crossing guards in Barrie because, like many of my fellow residents, I'm apprehensive about allowing my sons to walk to and from school. While canvassing my own neighborhood for my petition, which has now garnered over 1,100 signatures, I spoke to many people. They are scared because they have experienced or witnessed a near miss, the increase in traffic, the number of distracted and inexperienced drivers, speeding, congestion at drop-off and pickup, and illegal parking. Their fears are justified. According to Parachute, Canada's national charity dedicated to injury prevention, pedestrian and bicycle-related injuries are among the leading causes of death and hospitalization for youth. Often, these preventable injuries take place near busy schools. The city's 2015 memo, which was shared with you, provides Barrie's pedestrian vehicle collision data over a 9-year period. At the time, it states that 5 children were involved in pedestrian vehicle accidents at locations where crossing guards could have been deployed. How many children are we willing to allow to get hit by a vehicle before we believe it would be appropriate to get a crossing guard program? Current statistics from the city state that over the last 10 years, there have been 19 pedestrian vehicle collisions. How many of these would have taken place at locations where crossing guards were deployed is unknown. But to focus on statistics alone is a misunderstanding of the issue. The problem extends well beyond reducing pedestrian collisions. It involves reducing residents' perceived threats. Kelsey Heward, a Barrie North resident, witnessed a grade 7 student being hit by a car on her way to school in September of last year. She was an adult who called 911. As a result, this mother, along with her neighbors, now carpool their children to get them to school safely. How do we help parents feel that their children are safe walking to and from school when we are aware of how dangerous our streets have become? Well, the city is doing a good job of putting in traffic calming measures in place. Some of these are blatantly ignored by drivers, and a sign, paint, or camera cannot pull a child out of harm's way, nor can they guide a child across a busy intersection. This program works in conjunction with traffic calming measures and is a vital missing piece. We should never compromise on child safety. We must put in every measure we have available to us. The Ontario Traffic Council's Crossing Guard Guide outlines criteria to determine where adult school crossing guards are warranted. Adult programs should be deployed at riskier locations, while student safety patrols who are 11 to 13 years old should only be used in low-risk areas. If you look at the provided 2015 Barrie staff report on crossing guards, it too states that school measures are not a suitable alternative to an adult program. According to the Ontario Highway Traffic Act, adult crossing guards are the only ones permitted to carry a school crossing stop sign. They can also report violators who then receive fines. Parents in our city have reported being scared even when walking with their children. The fact that adult pedestrians are requesting the presence of an adult school crossing guard to feel safe speaks volumes to the need for this program. Crossing guards help to build a sense of safety within the community through relationships and familiarity. Some of them even know your child by name. They educate by giving one-on-one instruction to children and support police services through their ability to deter pedestrian and traffic violations. They also raise awareness of school zones by their very presence. Their presence also increases healthy behaviors. The Creating Safe Routes for Active School Transportation Guide provided to you states that studies show the presence of a school crossing guard was related to 14% more walking to school. Children were more than 2 times more likely to engage in active transportation when school crossing guards were employed. This means that vehicular congestion around schools, which caused this issue to be brought up in the first place, could be decreased by the presence of adult school crossing guards, leading to even more safety, perceived well-being, as well as healthier habits. On the Barrie website, there is a list of 30 municipalities with comparable property taxes. It is quite significant to note that all but 2 of the ones listed have an adult school crossing guard program, one of them being Barrie. Why have all of these municipalities made this a priority and we have not? An opinion piece published last week in Barrie cites a single small study to claim that the data doesn't back up the need for crossing guards. As one of the only 2 major municipalities listed without a crossing guard program, is the city of Barrie prepared to call into question all of the merits of a program that has been established in municipalities across the province for decades? In 2015, news reports indicated that the city of Barrie cited 4 deterrents to getting a program underway. They included turnover, liability, difficulty measuring success, and cost. As a parent and taxpayer, I see these as unconvincing excuses not to join numerous other municipalities in providing this important safety measure. According to city staff report in 2015, the program was recommended. At the time, it was determined that the cost was approximately $650,000. Foreboding news reports then and now projected that cost of our program would be well over $1 million. This is inaccurate. I called several municipalities to ask how much it costs currently to run an adult school crossing guard program. If you refer to the provided spreadsheet, you will see the 3 most relevant entries, all of which run it for less than what we projected our cost to be back in 2015. Specifically, Guelph has a similar population, property taxes, and number of schools. They also currently run their program for $496,710. In the 2016 city memo provided, it states that the city was to look at 150 locations to determine need, and a recommendation of 25 of them should receive crossing guards. This is even less than Guelph, which currently has 33 locations staffed by 41 guards, giving us wiggle room if the number of locations has increased. If it were determined using the Ontario Traffic Council's guide that we now need more than the projected 25 locations with crossing guards, this would speak to how dangerous our streets have become and is greater proof that we need a program in place. This council is thoughtful and of how you spend taxpayers' money, and we are grateful. Yet there are other programs or operations we currently run that cost a similar amount, demonstrating that this is a reasonable dollar request that just simply has not been prioritized or budgeted for in the past. The hope is that we will plan for it now, especially given the city's focus on safety. Do we not have reserves for the implementation of new programs? Turnover is real, but the problem is across organizations right now, not limited to crossing guards. There are municipalities that are running successful programs. They mitigate turnover through competitive pay, increased hours, and incentives. Liability with running a program. We now live in a litigious society overall. There are possible liabilities with almost anything we do. How are other municipalities capable of dealing with this liability and we are not? By continuing to use the argument, the city would be saying that they would rather allow children to be in situations where they could be injured or die than run the risk of being sued, and that is simply unacceptable. Difficulty measuring success. It is problematic to interpret the pedestrian collision data provided in the city's 2016 memo in comparison to Barrie without further information. And it is especially hard to study or measure something that has been prevented or what would have been had a crossing guard been present. Instead of the perspective that we don't know if crossing guards will increase safety, I would argue we don't know that they won't. Erring on the side of caution in this circumstance is most prudent. And again, we aren't just talking about actual threats, but perceived threats. The study published in 2022 by the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health found that the presence of crossing guards was related to lower perceived danger by parents along school routes, and that children feel safe when crossing guards are present. That's make the people of Barrie feel safe. According to the Highway Traffic Act, Section 176, municipalities are the ones to employ school crossing guards. This is also evident due to precedents in Ontario, and all of the municipalities I called ran the program themselves. While the city may look for partnerships to make the program more feasible financially, it would be negligent of the municipalities to cite the lack thereof as a reason not to run this program. Our city website outlines 5 strategic priorities determined by the City Council. One is thriving community, wherein it states that you will create and foster programs and opportunities to support community wellness. An adult school crossing guard program aligns with your strategic priority. The second relevant key priority you have committed to is community safety. I am arguing that an adult school crossing guard program provides child safety and should be at the top of your list for meeting priorities you have set. Barrie's Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan Action Area 3 says safety is for everyone. We cannot overlook our most vulnerable population any longer. In closing, I am not asking you to hike taxes for this program, and I'm not asking you to have it in place tomorrow. I am asking you to say yes to the program, and if need be, put it in place over time. I'm asking for you to tap into resources that you have for the implementation of new programs or reorganize funds. I'm asking you to make the safety of children a priority so many residents I spoke to said it's only a matter of time before something terrible happens, given what they've seen or experienced. You have the opportunity to be proactive instead of reactive, as well as make people feel safe. I'm asking you to follow through on your promise of safety for all and the priorities you yourselves have set. I'm asking you to be the council and mayor that finally puts in place the adult school crossing guard program in Barrie. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCarthy, for the presentation. I was confused for a second, like, is that a staff presentation or a resident presentation? Very detailed, Ms. McCarthy. And the citations, there's definitely lots of work that went into that. Mayor Nettle, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your presentation today, and certainly for the conversation that we got to have. I think a couple of weeks ago now. Can't remember the exact date. And thank you for the work you're doing in the community. You know, I think people don't realize how difficult it is to start to get others involved in a community initiative, but clearly you've done a ton of work coordinating people, bringing it to the forefront, and I want to say thank you for doing that. I don't have any questions because we got to chat one-on-one, and I really did appreciate that opportunity. Mr. Chair, one of the things that was life-changing for me, and we talk about lived experience all the time, when I was 10 years old at school, 1 kilometer from the school I was attending, my mom was hit by a car, and she was crossing the street, and a fire engine was coming, and a car tried to get out of the way of the fire engine, and my mom wasn't seen, and she was hit. And the effects of that in the cognitive sense are still there today, and they're certainly there in the physical sense as well. So, you know, for me, this probably couldn't be a more important issue. I think the thing that pulled me in about the presentation in person, if I can be honest, because I think that that's where I get to have the most conversing and questions and all that, was that the request wasn't just, okay, go activate at every school everywhere now, because that's, number one, daunting, very difficult. It was more, can we do this over time? Can we start somewhere? Is there an opportunity? Is there a target school or school area, maybe where you have multiple schools using a similar walkway that we can work with? And so I don't know if now is the appropriate time. I actually have to leave in about 24 minutes to coach soccer before council, but I wanted to move a motion that we designate $100,000 from our strategic initiatives, our council's strategic fund, to this cause, and to an upset of 5 schools in a pilot project for 1 year only. And let's get the data so that we can move forward. There's going to be data from all different types of communities. We know that our city was built in such a time that there's broad roads, that create fast traffic and a very difficult time for children and for even motorists, quite frankly. And so I'd like to put that motion on the floor, if that's okay with you. And the other piece of it is that I'd like it to include our staff, who are working very well with the school boards right now, reaching out to the school boards to see if they will actually participate in this program, both in the resourcing as well as the coordination, and see if there's an opportunity to get the city, the school boards working together on something that will hopefully provide some meaningful data, where we've both kind of shied away from it in the past.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor Nettle. To the city clerk, is as the mayor's motion as verbally discussed been taken by by yourself?
Yes, Chair Morales, it has. I just have a quick question though. I'm not sure about the account. Have we checked the funding, and has the funding been available funding in that account been checked? I just want to make sure we.
I just
use the right
assume we have
account.
millions in all our accounts.
No,
No.
no.
Do we have, I have not checked that. But I
Mr.
believe the last time that we did look into it, there was excess funds.
Mr. Price,
Through you, Chair Morales, to Mayor Nuttall. I think we can figure out the account if you don't designate Mayor Nuttall. I wonder if committee might be open to a report back prior to that. I think perhaps there are issues that committee has not yet considered, including the organization. It's not just the funding, it's the organization. You are in effect creating a new department. Members of committee are probably familiar with Aurelia running out of crossing guards. I think it was last year, and actually had intersections that were supposed to be manned. I think I can still use that term, manned, were not. So you had children showing up at areas that they expected an adult crossing guard, and because staffing shortages, they were not able to fill those positions. I believe, I was trying to look it up, but I believe Aurelia actually has a supervisor or a coordinator already on staff who takes care of that. We clearly do not. So I think there'd be some organizational questions around that. So I wonder, Mayor Nuttall, in advance of the money, perhaps we could report back on what it could look like should committee wish to proceed.
Yeah, I'm good with that, Michael, and I think it's important that we get the school board involved, right? Like, they know their intersections better than we do. They know their crossing, where the kids go, what the travel patterns are like. And one of the things I think that's really important to note is these catwalks are actually getting closed down now, right? Like, there used to be a lot of accesses from neighborhoods, especially older neighborhoods, into school properties, where you're actually seeing those no longer able to be used, which is causing the need to cross more traffic in more places. And so getting the school board to the table on this issue, I think is really important. So if staff want to bring back what it looks like, what the best way to approach it is, what account the money should come from, I'm totally good with that. So if Madam Clerk can amend my motion to reflect that. I think that what's really important is the acceptance that there is a very busy set of streets that young people are crossing daily from ages 4 up to 18, and so that there certainly is a need. And if we find something that we like, that's working, that the data shows is helpful and increases safety, then council can make that determination on whether to go full bore and invest in it, right? And it is an investment. Or if it comes back and we're having more problems at the intersections where we have crossing guards and no one's showing up, and there's expected adult crossing guards that are no longer there because they're just not showing up for work. I think that sends a message back to us in itself, and why it's important to approach these things from a pilot project before going full on.
Okay, perfect. Has that been received? That intent?
Through you, Chair Morales. I would just probably word the motion that staff investigate the feasibility of implementing an adult crossing guard program in the city of Barrie, including cost, staffing requirements, and report back to general committee with the second paragraph potentially, and that staff reach out to the school boards as part of the process concerning assistance or partnerships.
Okay, perfect. So the motion as just read is on the floor. Do we have any questions or comments from members of committee? Councillor Corser.
Just on process, maybe, this motion will go forward and then the members of the committee will be able to ask them questions or speak after that if the motion is passed.
So Councillor Corser, so questions and comments from members of committee now. And non-members as I usually allow within reason. And if we need from the members of the public, again, thank you for attending. So if it's approved, my understanding is it's going to go to staff.
Okay.
And then it will go to general committee. So everybody will be able to do at that time. If there's needs for amendments to pump the brakes or to speed it up at general committee, we can do that at that time.
Then I wanted to make a comment on it. Excellent work. I just like I share in Mayor Nuttall's enthusiasm, like throw me a vest and a sign. And I'm really glad that you came today. We spoke on the phone. You obviously did a ton of work on this. And as I mentioned before, it's amazing. So many members of the public will contact us with issues that they would like to have addressed or researched. And that is our job to do that for the residents of the city. But you took this on yourself. You did the homework, you did the research, you did the put together the petition that was well received. And I just wanted to say, like, congratulations and excellent work. And yeah, it was very nice to talk to you about this, and I would be very supportive of the motion.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Councillor Corser. Any other members of committee have any questions, comments? No? Non-members of committee have any questions, comments? Councillor Kungle, and then Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you, Chair Morales. Just a comment, it makes me think about, as that information comes back to staff, it would also be good to understand at some point before next budget, how that $20,000 is being utilized. I believe that we've been supporting that goes to not the adult, but the student crossing guard program, and what schools actually picked that up and how training had went. There could be some resources that exist there we could leverage at no or minimal cost should we expand something into an adult. But in addition to that, it might just be good to see how that's being used. Can volunteers be leveraged? And then what schools in proximity to then adult ones that could be complemented. So it might fill in a larger picture and where we're already providing investment, but are at arm's length around how that's being implemented through, I believe, Barrie Police with youth.
So that question to Mayor, was it to Mayor Nuttall or to staff? Sorry.
So just a comment made redirected through you to staff, that whether or not it comes back in that staff report, if it could be added with some context around how do we know any information about how that $20,000 has been applied? And if not, maybe we could seek that out through, maybe it's a redirection to Barrie Police to ask about a report back. I'm not sure if we get stats or information, so I can reframe that into a question for staff to say, is there a reporting back that comes to us in any way in relationship to, I believe, the $20,000 we build into the budget for the student crosswalk support program?
Mr. Press.
Thank you, Councillor Kungle. We can certainly get you that additional information. I think most of it would come from Barrie Police, but we're requesting.
Thank you very much. That's all my comments.
Thank you, Councillor Kungle. Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you. And through you, Chair Morales, and thank you, Councillor Kungle, because that was my exact question in wondering if those two programs could perhaps dovetail in the future. So thanks for highlighting that. I just want to say, Tanis, thank you again, echoing what Amy said or Councillor Corser said. You've been relentless in this. I'm also from Ward 10 and completely agree. We've got a number of schools in our ward that are concerning, as I'm sure a number of other councillors do. My question is just in relation to the motion we had put forward in May that the school board representatives be requested to meet with the Community Safety Committee to discuss pedestrian and vehicle safety. The rationale for that was about the concerns with kids crossing streets and traffic congestion at drop off. I'm just wondering, had that been acted upon yet, or has there been any conversations? I'm glad, Mayor Nuttall, I think the motion again is to bring in the schools as part of this discussion, but I feel like we did that in May. So I'm just wondering where that conversation rests and if that had been moved forward at all.
Thank you, Councillor Hamilton. To whoever staff member can best answer that. I'm not necessarily picking on Mr. Press. And this one also kind of I can see how this one can go to Ms. McAlpin, and I can see how this one can go to Ms. Banfield and everyone else. So whoever wants to start.
Through you, Chair Morales, to Counselor Hamilton. So we have, through traffic services, we've had tons of contacts, not only with the school board as well as we meet with Barrie Police regularly. I don't really have any sort of like key takeaways. The school safety, there's a whole suite of things that we all do continuously. And then, but in terms of the actual kind of report back with respect to the kiss and rides and the drop-offs, I believe that motion was tagged on to the broader discussion about the right-of-way widths that we just talked about at the previous meeting. And I've actually, and the report back on that is going to be in the fall.
Okay, perfect, very much. Ms. Banfield, sorry, Councillor Hamilton still has the floor. Councillor Hamilton?
That's okay. Maybe we can take it offline. I just, maybe I'm confused about how that motion ended up then, but I was under the impression that we had requested school board representatives to come back specifically to the Community Safety Committee. So I just wasn't sure where that stood, but maybe perhaps we can take it offline. I just want to make sure that the two motions are correlating together, because I feel like we've already kind of put something on the floor to talk to the school representatives about vehicle and pedestrian traffic and perhaps a notion of a crossing program. So again, I just want to make sure that we're all working together and we don't have people moving off in different directions and parts.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Councillor Hamilton. Councillor Corser, do you want to report back?
I just wanted to echo what Councillor Hamilton was saying, that we believe we did send an invitation out, and I'm looking forward to actually sitting down with the school board to have conversations, but not to take away at all from this evening's events. But yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Councillor Kungle. Any other questions or comments from non-members of committee? No? Okay, I'll kind of close by giving my questions or my comments. Thank you, Ms. McCarthy, and everybody else involved. Probably about a dozen here in person, and I know many more behind. Again, excellent presentation. This has been an issue that has come to probably Mayor Nuttall when you were a councillor came up. I know it came up during my previous 2 terms of council with along some of my colleagues who were on those councils. And it's obviously nobody, I don't want anybody to ever think that City Hall doesn't care about kid safety. It's just about executing a program effectively, funding the program effectively, and delivering a program effectively, so we don't have situations like, and I'm not trying to pick on City of Aurelia, but we don't have horrendous situations like that. So change doesn't happen overnight, but I'm getting the sentiment that change is starting to happen now, and you have yourself and everybody else to thank for that. So again, definitely kudos to that. I definitely heard that last summer while knocking on doors. It's only getting worse. People are speeding more. People are more addicted to their cell phones, and the issues are not going away. One thing I did want to say is 5 locations, 10 wards. Okay, so I can't do, so procedurally, so you understand, I'm the chair, so I can't do an amendment. I speak after everybody. So I'm going to ask one of my colleagues to do it. And I just thought of this on the spot. So I'm not being dramatic. It's not like I know who's going to do it. Maybe nobody does it, but I would love to for someone to put an amendment that clarifies that staff and maybe a specific staff member make the sole decision on where the schools are going to, that are going to be get picked, because I do not want a situation where, I have to arm wrestle with my colleagues to pick schools, and no parent should think that their counselor didn't vouch for their ward enough, or that one ward is more important than other, or that a senior member of council got dibs and not a new member of council. No one person's child is more valuable than other. So if we just outsource it out of the political realm, or the council responded to the email quicker. So if somebody puts an amendment for that, and it is clear now that if your school doesn't get picked, this was a very objective, non-political decision. Would there be appetite for a member of the committee to get that question from Deputy Mayor Thompson, and then follow up through Councillor Corson?
Thanks, Chair Morales. And it's more on clarity, and this is to CAO Prowse. In the motion from Mayor Nuttall, I think it was to involve the school as they would know the roads. And so I think that was already determined that it would be reported back on the busiest, the most congested per population of kids walking to school. Am I correct?
Through Chair Morales to Deputy Mayor Thompson. That's my understanding of the request. Staff will report back what a program could look like, a pilot program could look like, how you would fund it, and feedback from the school board, including any opportunity to help fund the adult crossing program. But in fairness, I believe we've had this conversation historically with the school board. They're very supportive of a program. However, they're not in a position to fund a program. So I think that probably will be a short conversation, but we're certainly willing to take it up again with the school board, and that would all be part of the report back.
Maybe just to follow up. And so to Councilor Morales's point, in the report, it would be determined locations by facts through the school board data and police, is my understanding.
Through Chair Morales to Deputy Mayor Thompson. I actually think that you may have two cycles of this. I think the structure and form and function of what a program could look like and how we could work with the school board and how we could fund it would be one question. I think delving into the details of specifically the location is probably either a parallel or a secondary course, should council still wish to pursue it once they see the cost and the magnitude of it. So while I haven't written the report, and nor will I write the report, I can see a situation where it actually would be two separate steps.
So back to you, Chair Morales, just if with that information, do you feel comfortable that it's already going to occur without an amendment to the motion?
It gives me comfort. I want to see what Councillor Corser says, and I also have comments based on what we just heard. Councillor, sorry, you still have the floor. You're good, Councillor Corser.
In the amazing presentation put forth on the last slide in closing, I read a bullet point saying there is already an Ontario Traffic Council has set parameters on this issue of where they're located. So I bet again that could be something to be spoken to for the Ontario Traffic Council, I suppose. So it might not actually be. Hopefully, it won't be us or staff. It'll already be something that's present already is set.
Okay.
So,
Perfect. So thank you, Councillor Corser. Based on everything I've heard, I think the fact that we've spoken about it, the point that you brought up, an excellent point by Ms. McCarthy's presentation and staff's feedback, the sentiment that this is not going to be a political decision is already out there. You guys have heard it. You're the people that are following this issue have heard it, and hopefully the media is covering it. Now, how we work out the semantics later with memos, if council is to proceed, which is not a guarantee, I think we can codify it at that time. But I think if at this point it's satisfactory and not needed of an amendment. So, and then finally, my last closing comment, Ms. McCarthy, and to everybody attending, if this passes right now, it goes through general committee and council, a couple more steps. But thank you for your work to all of you and those who couldn't attend. We now need your help. We need your help with the school boards. I think you've heard it's been subtly implied, and then it was a little more strongly implied. This doesn't happen without the school boards' help, support, funding, partnership, whatever word you want to use. And we need your help as much of if there is an opportunity for you to engage the school boards, the school trustees that are also elected, the parent councils, PTA, superintendents. That is how we're going to get this closer to realization. So thank you for your advocacy, and we hope you can assist us moving forward with talking with the school boards. So seeing no other questions or comments. Oh, Ms. McCarthy, I'll definitely allow the question. Procedurally, we usually don't, but no, I'm not going to leave you hanging on that one. What I'm just saying is the best way for success with this is with the school boards at the table. And I'm keeping that a little bit ambiguous. That might mean logistical support, that might be funding, that may be other things. It is difficult for us, essentially a city hall, to provide a service that some people might see as should be done by the school boards anyways to do that. And there's a bit of history there. I'm not saying that they don't care, that I don't want anyone to think of that way, but success is definitely engaging the school boards as much as you and your group has engaged us. So seeing no more questions or comments, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate. Okay, and I'm in favor as well, so that passes unanimously. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Yeah, feel free to clap. Go for it. Perfect. So now this will go to general committee, so you understand the process. I know you've connected with staff, so if you have any more questions about when and how, please follow up with them. And we will now move on to the rest of the agenda. Feel free to stay, feel free to leave. We won't take it personally.
You guys step later
Yeah, okay, so Pat's. Okay. Okay, so we're back to items for discussions. Members of the Community Safety Committee, we have two items for discussion. First one is an investigation for no parking anytime for City View Circle in Ward 6. And I'm going to read it out loud. That's staff in the Development Services Department investigate the feasibility of implementing no parking anytime on City View Circle and report back to General Committee. It's item for discussion 8.1, June 21st, 2023, sponsored by Councillor Negusi. Can I have a member of the committee put it on the floor as read out loud? Deputy Mayor Thompson, I saw first. Anybody have any questions or comments from committee? Anybody have any questions, comments from non-committee? Going once, going twice. All those in favor, please indicate. Okay, it passes unanimously. Thank you. And then finally, second one is request 8.2, request for review of the installation of a controlled crosswalk on Baldwin Lane at Marshall Street, Ward 8. That staff in the Development Services Department review the installation of a controlled crosswalk on Baldwin Lane at Marshall Street. And it's sponsored, item 8.2, June 21st, 2023, sponsored by Councillor Jim Harris. Can I have a member of the committee put it on the floor as read out loud? Deputy Mayor Thompson, any questions or comments from members of committee? None. Any questions or comments from non-members of committee? None. All those in favor, please indicate. Passes unanimously. Thank you. And we are now at adjournment at 5:39 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This concludes our meetings. We will reconvene at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the City Council.